Asia Pop 40.
What's up? I'm Joey, and welcome to the show. Today we have a trio of extremely talented ladies connecting to us from the United States of America. And here in Asia, we've been loving their music for a while now, and we finally get to see them. It's the Shindellas. How you doing?
Hey.
We're so excited to be here.
Yes, thank you guys for all the support out there.
Usually when they appear in the same room, they have a really cool way to greet their fans. Do you think you can pull that off right now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Ready? Hi, everyone. I'm Kasi.
I'm Staci.
And I'm Tam. And we are
the
Shindellas.
Yeah, I did it. Okay. That's pretty good. Somehow being able to manage to sync up over Zoom with the lag. Okay, so congratulations on that, but also congratulations on the debut album, Hits That Stick Like Grits.
Yes.
Now, first off, I want our Asian fans, our listeners, to get to know you a little bit. So can you just kind of tell us where each of you are from and what kind of music you grew up listening to?
Staci, I am from Chicago, Illinois, and I grew up in a Jamaican culture. My whole family's Jamaican, so I grew up listening to reggae, soca music, Caribbean carnival music, and then explored world music. And then once I started learning about the blues and American music, I just went crazy and started listening to everything, instrumentals, jazz, just everything from all over the world. So my influences is world music.
Right on. And who's up next?
Tam. So I grew up in the church, and gospel music is my roots. And so that's kind of like what gave me my start in how I fell in love with music. Yeah. But then as I got older, I started exploring soul music, the Aretha Franklins, the Sam Cookes, and that's kind of what drew me in. And that's my start. That's how I got my start.
Right on.
And me, Kasi, I grew up watching movie musicals with my grandmother and my mother. So Ella Fitzgerald, Lena Horne, Barbara Streisand, Judy Garland were huge influences on me. Also listened to a lot of soul and jazz. But I also grew up in Seattle in the 90s. So like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, a lot of kind of West Coast hip hop. All of that is you hear in kind of my delivery and my swag and my attitude when I'm singing.
Okay, so we got the elegance of that onstage persona, and then we have, of course, gospel. I love that soulful factor of gospel music, and of course we have some reggae and some Caribbean tunes. So unlike some of the biggest girl groups that we know, there's usually a lead, but you guys don't do leads. You guys kind of switch off on the leads, right?
Yeah, I think we're really fortunate because all three of us have we all have pretty big ranges. So any of us could kind of do any part. Obviously, we all shine in different areas, but we kind of approach it like what's going to tell the story the best, whose delivery is going to get the lyrics and the energy that we want out the best. And so that's kind of how we mix it up. Like on the track When You're Lonely, for example, that's a big group song and we're together almost the whole song. But then at the end, when Miss Young Stacella, Staci Johnson, who we call Blue, jumps out on those sultry, like resonant, just like hitting you with the soulful vocals. It's so Staci that it had to be Staci. You know what I mean? It had to be Tam on Feeling the Pain with that just like rock and roll, just soulful, free delivery. I don't know. I think we just are really honest with each other about who's going to tell the story the best in each song.
Oh, yeah. And we're working with two masterminds, Claude Kelly and Chuck Harmony, and they know how to pull out the best in all three of us. And we've discovered so many different parts of our voices in working together collectively as well as individually. So, it's dope. It's a dope combination.
Does that conversation happen pretty organically? Like, do you all three step into the studio together and then you at that point talk about who's going to take lead and how to come up with some of the riffs?
I think the song comes first. Understanding what we're trying to do, discovering just like as we're singing, listening to how each person sings the part, and just like playing around with the music. It's always music first.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not really even a deep combo. It's like, oh, that sounds good, or ooh, do that again, kind of thing. It's so creative. It's less conversational and more like sounds. And while we were creating this album, before we even got into the studio to record, we have so many voice recordings, like voice notes on our phone of us just singing different parts on loop. Like we'll sing a little section over and over again, and everybody's just kind of free, and we're just ad-libbing and singing next to the piano. And so there's just we have like a different kind of attachment to the song before we even get into the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I think our listeners can really tell the organic parts and the creative part of this album. And I myself personally, I love the torch tones. Like when you mentioned When You're Lonely, that's one of my favorites. Win My Heart, some of these, old school torch vibe. But there's also some really vibrant, like vibey music, like Music, Feeling the Pain. But I want to talk about sort of a song that departs or is separates itself from the rest of the album, called Lullaby.
I knew it.
And did you really?
That's my favorite song on the album.
Tell me about this one.
Well, Lullaby, I think I'm really attached to Lullaby personally because it is my Rodgers and Hammerstein dream. Like, first of all, Chuck and Claude, I remember the first time they played the idea, and it was just like, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. And it's got that great American songbook, like that golden age of Broadway standard feel.
Yes.
And I think we all have that in our voices. And we often don't get a chance to just sing that type of music unless you're in an old school Broadway musical. So to be brave enough to put it on our first record and to have the opportunity to open up and sing in that legit style together was just beautiful.
And that's a song that comes in a good time, like when we're just getting ready for Christmas. We just got Thanksgiving around the corner and we got Christmas around the corner. Like that's a nice homey vibe for that kind of season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so speaking of hominess, the title of the album, I think, is something that refers to the Southern culture, because grits is a very Southern type of food, right? But I need to get our listeners to understand what exactly grits is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Who's gonna take up on that? It's corn. It's corn based.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. It's honestly a staple food. We eat it for breakfast. You can eat it shrimp and grits. You can eat catfish and grits in the South. But it's also, for us, we created an acronym around grits, and it's gifts require intention and total surrender. So not only did we want to kind of, I guess you can say, have an ode to the South and to where we kind of came together. But yeah, we wanted it to be more of a deep fried veggie. So it's a little deeper than just the actual food for us. But yeah.
I love that. Okay. When I used to hear about how grits is being spelled out, I think it was guts, resilience, initiative, and tenacity.
Oh, I love that.
I love that too.
Great album, and I think you really knocked it out of the ballpark with this debut. Last question for our listeners here in Asia. Why are you guys called the Shindellas?
The Shindellas name comes from a made-up word that we use in the studio, and this word is called Shindo. Shindo, Shindo. And it basically means it describes a feeling, goosebumps, chills, you're so inspired, you can't control yourself. That is a Shindo, when you get overcome with that feeling. And that's what we're named after. That's the way we want to make people feel. We want people to feel that listening to our music and whenever they see us, especially on stage. So that's what the Shindellas vibe is. The ladies who bring the chills.
Wait a second. Shindo,
Shindo.
and that's your own words. That's
You
a
made
made
it
up.
up somewhere. I think there's
Okay.
another word for it in another country somewhere.
Yeah,
Yes,
in
yes,
Japan,
okay, yes.
Yeah, it means
Say
it's
it.
the measurement of seismic activity in Japanese.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we could say it's an emotionally seismic event.
Okay, and Casey would know that because you toured Japan before, right?
I did, and I worked for Tokyo Disney Sea, so I lived in Japan for 2 years.
There you go. Okay, so for Staci and Tam, I gotta tell you, here in Taiwan, we use the same word to measure the magnitude of earthquake.
What?
And today we had Casey, Staci, and Tam joining us. Thank you so much for this interview.
So much, Joey.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Hello, Asia.
We're the Shindellas.
And you're listening to Asia Pop 40.
Asia Pop 40.